it's gonna be a terrible day. Well, it turned into the type of day where Serral beat you. I think I lost like 5-0 in like 45 minutes. Guys, he's sick. He's very, very good. Now, there's something cool though, and that's that Stats also is very good. So we have two players which are absolute top level. But we'll get to that later, because in the bottom left spawning as the red circ, playing for team ENCE, it is Serral.
And the top right, our blue Protoss player is Stats here in the Douyu Cup winner bracket semi-finals. Crazy.
Absolute madness, Wardy. The other one, the other semi wasn't that brilliant, was it?
No, it's a little bit one-sided. Raynor kind of slapped Zest around a bit, and then Zest Nelly got back in the game, and then Raynor won anyway with quite a nice move. So it was.
Yeah,
it was actually, at least it was fun though. Like, it wasn't like, you know, you have 3 zeros that are like complete stomps, and this was like kind of a stomp, but it was like a fun stomp. You know, it wasn't just like, oh, that was a waste of time. So
yeah. I know what you mean. The GSL semi-final yesterday, that was a non-fun stomp. It was one of those where the games weren't that hot, except for maybe the last one. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it yet, but well, I kind of spoiled it.
Now they watch game 1 and they know how the rest of it goes.
it could have been a 4-3 stomp, Wardy. Now you gave it away.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's have a look. We see Stats blocking the natural. Oh, whoa. No, wait, never mind. I'm an idiot. I thought something cool was happening, but it's just very standard. We're gonna just be seeing some... I want to say glaive adept, right? We see the natural block almost every single time that Stats plays the natural block. He ends up going into glaives. Sometimes he does something else as well, but it's quite rare. Like, we'll see a DT drop every now and then in like the main base Zest style, but I feel like against Serral that kind of shenanigans doesn't really work, you know? You do this against people who can't read quite as well as Serral, but Serral sees everything, you know? He knows about the second gate timing, he knows about when the warpins are supposed to hit. He'll chase your prison with a stupid ling, and there's overlords everywhere in places where they should be. So it's very frustrating to play this kind of build against Serral. So the glaive build is just the most standard one in that case, and I mean we're seeing the fast warp gate, we're seeing a Twilight Council. I think that's gonna be it, Wardy.
All right, well, there's your prediction. What do you think is the best way to beat Serral? If you've got like a take a game off him, what build do you go for?
That's a good question. I was kind of hoping that Stats would be able to give me that answer here, because Serral is just very, very good all around, right? I think there is some potential with some of the glaive builds. Like there's always potential there, and even with just regular Oracle, like you can get into good positions against him. The thing is that he's just so good in all the phases of the game, and he really understands how to play from behind, because for the past 4 years every player has been throwing their best cheese or their most greedy build at him every single time he plays a series, right? So he knows what it's like to play from behind, and he's probably the best in the world at that I'm pretty sure at. Like there might be certain things where he's not the best in the world at, but from playing behind, like he's absolutely insane. He knows how to get stuff done. So yeah, it's going to be on Stats to get a big lead or to get some type of lead in the early game, and then try to go for some mid game push. That's I think the most common way that I see Serral lose.
Okay, well, we just see those 4 gates coming up. I'm completely with you, because I think part of what made Serral so awesome to watch was that he didn't always just win games. He won the games he wasn't meant to win, right? When he was like winning everything. I was like, that was always like one of the like, wow, like this like so entertaining, because he did fall behind, and then he made things happen. And it was always like, it was just like a consistent thing that he did. So really, really sick to watch him play when it's that kind of scenario. I mean, this is a good setup though, of course, for now he knows what's going on. He's got Lings coming up, the Rotron's going to be done pretty much on time to deal with the third Warpin of Adepts, which is what you want. So everything looking good at the moment, and it's down to Stats to maybe try and somehow out-position Serral here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that's gonna be really, really hard. I don't know what Stats has been doing, but he messed up the build pretty hard. His first major warping with 4 units was actually at 430, which the earliest timing you can hit is 418. even with a block on the natural. So he's just a solid 12 seconds late. So Serral is very confident right now. We see him starting a lair, which you usually only do once you kind of feel like you've held the pressure. There is no spine though, so that might actually prove to be a little bit annoying. And the queens are also falling, but if that's all that's going to happen here, just queens falling, then I think Serral's just going to be pretty happy here. He has units in position in the main as well. Links are running back, and Serral is so quick at pulling drones away as well when the Adept Shade does end up finishing. I think Serral is pretty happy with how this has gone so far. As long as not 7 or 8 drones fall within the next shade, I think he's going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, it feels like a very comfortable defense, and obviously from here you can start drone up. He does lose a few workers on the third base, so he loses 6. So that's kind of getting towards those maybe dangerous numbers of losses. He will not lose one more as the Adepts are shading just as the drones get back in range.
Yeah, no, you might think, well, this looks pretty bad for Serral, right? He has less workers, but the fact of the matter is his income is going to be pretty okay all the way throughout because he has 3 bases to saturate. So even though Stats has more workers, Stats doesn't even have a third setup yet. He is mining with 6 workers from one of the gases. This is still a pretty okay position here for Serral. I must admit that losing those 6 workers was a little more than I expected, and Stats still is getting stuff done. I said I don't think this is going to do anything, but I kind of forgot the Korean factor, especially Stats, but also Zest to a certain extent. Their movement is just better than a lot of the Europeans. So when you see me, Showtime, or Mana or Drogo play this build, I think the movement usually is a little more conservative and just less good in general. So a lot of the time, the first few games that European Zergs play against Korean tosses, they'll struggle a bit with the movement, and once they get used to it, it gets better. But the initial execution of the build by Stats, build order-wise, actually was quite poor, which surprises me.
Well, for a moment it looked like he was going to get like very aggressive. He's building 2 Immortals. Was that just because he's afraid of the counterattack, or was he maybe thinking of that and now decides just to throw down the Robobay and everything else?
I mean, you kind of have to build the Immortals. You can't just stack straight to Colossus, because then Mass Roach will actually just kill you at any given point. Like, Colossi aren't that great against Roaches. They're okay against Ravagers, but not brilliant against Roaches, so I don't know. You usually just either build Immortals or you get DT behind, so you can kind of stop the counter-attack as well, and then it's nice to have some units that can do some big damage on Roaches, and the Immortal is perfect for that.
Go straight to the Disruptor is the next step of this as well. So really looking for some big connections on some Roach Ravager perhaps, and I feel like the Disruptor is something that you usually see after a couple of Colossi, but right from the start here, Stats.
Yeah, we've seen Stats do it a couple of, or not Stats, sorry, Trap play the straight into Disruptor a couple of times, right? Where you would follow it up with a Disruptor drop with Prism Speed. I haven't seen this exact variation yet, where you go Blink +1, then get the Robobay, and then go into what seems to be some type of Disruptor push, but it's hidden, so I'm not quite sure what the entire play here is. I also noticed an Infestation Pit from Serral's side. For a second I thought we might be heading into a very late Swarmos, but now it seems to be going more into Lurker.
That's something you don't see all that much in ZvP anymore, right? Like, I felt like we had a phase of this when the upgrades first were added in, and that's a Ravager kill, and that's going to be a dodging Roach, actually. But, yeah, we really kind of saw, you know, Lurkers be kind of a thing for a while, and then it felt as though pros just got them figured out again, so we just haven't seen so much of it. Do you think there's any reason he wants to go Lurkers here in this game, or this map specifically?
I think he wants to open with Roach Hydra, and he's going to go for a big drop into the main if he survives. The next push. I think that's going to be the main play, and then Lurker is kind of like, after you do some damage, you have some safety, and I think he's just going to keep multitasking with the Roach Hydra force. However, Stats has some momentum on his side, so Serral does need to be careful, but we see Overlord speed, missile attacks, which means the dedication towards those range units is there, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of Overlords just being sent towards the right side, maybe even an Overlord towards the left side so he can drop into the natural, something like that. But I think he wants to start doing something there.
Oh, Serral is going to lose the Queen. Here's the Disruptor. Will just force the Roach Ravager back. Next Disruptor shot will grab a Ravager. Lings from the other side, though, and that's going to be an instant recall, but he leaves some units behind. Stalker's in some trouble. He loses a Colossus as well. Wow, that was actually pretty bad there for Stats. Losing quite a bit, caught completely off guard by that flanking set of Lings.
That was absolutely beautifully done by Serral. The balls always connect if you throw them at the same time as the recall, so that was absolutely perfectly done. Big, well, not the greatest disruptor. It actually just gets a Ravager and a Roach. Vipers are on the way, which will basically make both Colossi and Disruptor very, very vulnerable. And I'm actually kind of afraid here for Stats now. How is he ever going to take a fort base and properly defend it? Serral already going up to 10 gases. Adding a second Evo chamber as well, which I like a lot here. Seismic Spines are on the way. No adaptive talents yet, but is already lined up in the lurker then. So, interesting start here. Or interesting, yeah, start with this game.
Well, all those lurkers getting up. So now we get to this stage of the game as well, where Serral, you know, surely a bit of momentum back on his side, and that feels dangerous when you've got lurkers on the map, because now you can go all over, you can set up those lurker spots, and Stats has to be so proactive in stopping those lurkers getting, you know, too well positioned, because otherwise this falls apart very quickly. He's an attempt to prism into the main. He is pushing back some creep in the front, but that's a dead prism, only 3 zealots, so that's a minor inconvenience. Hopefully Serral isn't going to pull everything out of position and deal with it, and he doesn't. He burrows up the lurkers, which is exactly what is needed.
Yeah, that is exactly what is needed. We see a lot of Vipers are added to the mix. Well, just a lot, just 2 of them. And I'm not too sure if Serral should be this passive right now. I feel like he definitely has a timing, right? There's not a lot of, I mean, there's no Storm. There's a couple of High Templars so far. Second Robo is on the way, but what is there really to deal with the Lurkers?
Nothing.
2 Colossi, 3 Immortals? Is that gonna do it?
Not against the Lurker count, that's up, right? Against 11 Lurkers, no way. This is like 5 or 6 maybe, but yeah, I'm totally with you. I think Serral can get in position. If he gets in a position, I don't know what Stats really does to clean it out. Maybe he could clear it out, but like at a huge cost. He is gonna, Serral, just send some Ravagers and Roaches to the top as he tries to respond to the Stalkers on the right. And obviously this army from Stats has been enough of a threat to scare Serral from really committing everything into a certain position. He will not move forward with the Lurkers there just yet either, despite them having the upgrades. He is going to focus on the attack on the top left.
Yeah, for now, I feel like this attack on the top left is an attack to try to get his Lurkers into position, as I still feel like he has a bit of a timing. Serral is going to send 3 Lurkers towards the bottom side in case there's a run by, which there is. I'm not sure if Serral spotted that or if he just has a feeling. A lot of the times his gut feelings seem to be good enough to deal with this kind of stuff. +3 on the way for Stats right now, +3 also on the way for Serral though, and Carapace is about to finish up. This might be a very dangerous position here. Stalkers are in position, but I don't think that's going to be good enough.
No, it's going to be a lot of Lurkers getting burrowed up, and this is kind of the question of what does he have against Lurkers? Well, what he does have, the little bits of it out in the middle of the map, and Stats says, I can't fight that at all. So he starts to move through the center. He will catch Lurkers, but he doesn't get the kills on them. And then Serral kills the base. He's just going to start rotating back down defensively. So this army of Stats shouldn't even really be able to get much done. The sentry's already taken a beating as well from one of the Lurkers that was burrowed up. Some Storms will start off this fight, Harston, but I just don't really see a way that Stats truly cleans this out. He's just walking into the Lurkers.
Yeah, for the longest time there was no Observer with his army, more Biles raining down, and Lurkers actually flanking right now. Will get unburrowed once again. 187 supply against 109, and I think that pretty much dealt the deal. Stats calls out the GG as Serral wins game. Number 1 here on Pillars of Gold with a very... Wait, did he have a hatchery on the top? Was that a manor hatch?
He just... I don't know. He just...
Oh, that was for Viper energy.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I think so. So I think he wanted to kind of establish that position near the third and then just be able to get energy all the way throughout. I haven't seen that before. That was not a manor hatch, but it was close. As close as we're gonna get. And Zerg gets the gold base early on, and Roach Swarm Host is extremely good there with the Knights, of course, but that's not gonna be any of our worries as we are on Eternal Empire here with in the bottom left spawning as the Reds are playing for Team Ents. It's going to be Serral.
And the top right, our Blue Protoss player is Stats,
who is sending out a very quick probe over here. This was a 13 pylon, wasn't it, Wardy? Yes, this was a 13 pylon. So I actually, for a while, thought 13 pylon was the best thing since sliced bread, but I was incorrect because it actually seems that 14 pylon with a oh my god, he didn't even get the block.
Yikes.
Okay, that's really bad. Let me still finish my little story though. So whenever you want to block the natural, you can get a very consistent block off by sending the first probe that returns minerals to your nexus, send it to the other side of the map to block the natural of your opponent, and then get a 14 pylon. That's still better economically than just going a straight 13 pylon, which sometimes doesn't even quite get you the block off. I think it should actually. He must have messed something up there. 13 pylon is a very fast scout. Huh. I think he might have just sent his probe down too late, which would be a shame. I think he's gonna change his plan now. I'd be very surprised if he continues with a Glaive Adept build here, even though he didn't manage to block the natural. A lot of the time when they don't get the block off, we see Koreans transition either into Oracle or they'll go into something like a DT drop. Sometimes they'll still get the Warp Gate to try and play the fake, but a lot of the time they don't even do that, they just go straight into a Stargate.
Alright, well, we've got this probe just going to keep on being annoying. I think Stargate is something that Stats has really enjoyed playing lately, though. Plays a lot of triple Oracle builds.
Really?
Yeah, he's been doing it, I'd say, like, I think I casted a few best of 5s, and he does it like 2 out of 3 games usually in the best of 5. So,
2 out of 3 games. He wins everything 3-0?
2 out of 5, you know what I mean. You know, what can I say? Second seed of the day, my brain's still kind of figuring out numbers. Stuff, man.
It's all good, Wardy. It's all good. I'm here to call you out on all your mistakes. Don't you worry, my friend. You see a Stargate, so you're right. And you said he likes to play triple Stargate. Any specific follow-ups after, or just a bit standard?
I think he just plays very standard after, like, into Robo in the Twilight and just take a 3 base and just play macro. I don't think he really does anything aggressive off of it. He doesn't do, like, mass adepts with it either, which I know is quite popular when you go, like, 6 adepts and 3 oracles to try and deal damage. A little bit outdated,
yeah,
maybe, but...
especially with oracles, right? If you get 3 oracles, then it's quite common to see a move out with either 4, 6, sometimes even 8 adepts if you have a real tryhard. But it's getting less and less popular because, if there's like 5, 6 queens already and you have adepts without the glaives, it's like, meh. Doesn't do that much. Oh, he finishes his shape. He's gonna get the creep tumor. Cool move there by Stats. It's gonna force out a couple links as well. 8 links are out already, and getting the tumor in that case is pretty tight.
That's 2 drones as well, so obviously coming back in. And do you think the 2 drones is worth the adepts?
No.
No?
So the way that I know the math is that you need 3 drones and a minor drone pool to make it even. But this wasn't even a minor drone pool. Like, not even all the drones had to walk. It was like 4 drones. This was a minor, you know? This was absolutely the minimum amount of effort that Serral could have done. So he kept very good mining there, and it's gonna be hard to take the 3rd base without warping in more units, meaning that any type of follow-up attack is going to be delayed. He does end up getting 2 kills with the oracles. I hope both of those were drones. I think they were, Wardy.
Yes.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. They were... One of them was drones. Huh.
So I activated to kill a single link then. Interesting. Very interesting. Actually, if you kill a spore crawler, do you just get 1 kill or 2? Because you kill the spore and the drone if they don't cancel? You just get 1, right?
You just get 1, because it's just 1. It's just because the drone is a spore, right?
Well, not quite, Wardy.
Well, it is in this sense. The way it does the math, the Oracle is just going to destroy.
If that's the case, then what are the caterpillars? When it's evolving, is it a butterfly or is it a caterpillar?
I mean, it's a building butterfly. If you want to put it down.
Yeah, but it would still be a cat. Like, if you would see a house that's being constructed, you wouldn't say, oh, that's a house. And you say, that's a house under construction. I guess you wouldn't also say there's nothing there. Fair play. Once again, destroying my own argument with a great real-life analogy.
Amazing. As the oracles come back around, they get 1 more drone. It's kind of a shame to build 3 oracles and then to lose 1 of them, right? Does that change a lot of what you can do?
So the thing with 3 oracles is that really the only move that gets better is flying in and tanking damage, or you can do like a 2-1 split and 1 puts down a stasis ward. Actually, losing 1 oracle is not that big of a deal in this case. Like, obviously you'd rather still have 3 alive, especially if you're going to be playing against like a Ravager Link Bane afterwards. 3 oracles, they gun down Ravager so fast that Serral won't even see it coming. But as long as you keep 2 oracles alive, you're going to be able to one-shot drones. You're going to be able to take fights against queens relatively easily. I guess that's another thing, though, that if you have 3 oracles, that the queen movement for Serral needs to be a little more, what you call it, conservative, right? He can't just go to the edge of the creep as easily, because 3 oracles can just clear 3 queens very easily. And most of the time, Zerg doesn't get more than 5 queens, meaning that there's only going to be 2 queens that want to be spreading creep. So I guess in that sense, there's something, but drone damage-wise, there's not that much that changes there. Ooh, fast fire by Serral. We don't see this a lot coming out of him anymore.
It is quick as well, right? This isn't like I've been playing Fling Bane for a good long time. Now I'm going to switch it up to catch you off guard. The Hallucinated Phoenix turns into it, gets a scout. I think Serral keeps it. I think he makes use of it now.
No, he keeps it. He keeps it. So the thing when you're playing Ravager-Ling Bane on this map is that you have the rich gas, which just by itself is such a huge threat that it feels like the toss needs to be constantly aggressive in order to kind of deny the Mutalisk from ever popping. So even if you just build the Spire now, a lot of the time what happens is that the toss will get over-aggressive, and then if you play a rather defensive setup, so high Ravager count, a couple more Banelings because you do have that rich gas, then it can also work out for you. And then perhaps later on in the game you can either use it for a Greater Spire or use it for some type of very late Mutalisk transition. But I'd be surprised if he builds 5-6 Mutas right now. I think that was the original plan, right? The 9 to 10 Mutalisk, but I think that's not going to happen right now. And Stats actually kind of under-preparing, honestly. Not even building a Phoenix. He's not respecting that Spire whatsoever.
Alright, well, Spire is set there. Doing nothing at all. We do have a few Lings that try to make their way around the map. There's 2 Archons, which are finally going to join up with this Prism, so quite a sizable little counter-attack on the bottom side, while we also have Stats setting up around the left, so really looking to put pressure in a couple different places, try and draw Serral out, and now Serral will start to make these Mutalisks.
Yeah, that surprises me. I guess he feels safe enough now to do it. He's on 72 workers, which isn't a massive count of workers, honestly. Usually, if they go into this later type of Muta, you'll see like 85 Mutalisks, or 85 drones. Stats coming in with a little bit of a counterattack. Actually, both armies are going to join up in the middle. The Prism is flying into the main. Is going to be able to get that Zealot Warp in off as well. Mutas are just a little bit too late to the party. 4th base ends up falling. 5th base is on the way for Serral already, but honestly, this is looking pretty good here for Stats.
Yeah, he's going to lose access to that rich Vespene gas. These Banes don't have Bane speed. The double force fields, they let some Banes connect in on the Zealots, but they are going to get cleaned up now. This army will push forward. The stasis forwards down this ramp, though, so you can't just go chasing down a cell. You need to send some units ahead of the rest, and he does do that perfectly. So 2 Link cells, 2 stasis forwards, and he's going to continue fighting these Archons, and there should only be 2 that are able to get away. The Mutas dealt with the Zealots, 8 drones lost. I mean, it's a good turnaround from Serral in the end, but he did obviously take a lot of damage in the setup to be able to finally hold this off.
Yeah, and Stats has a lot of money in the bank. It's very common with these. Oh, wait a second here. As we see the Mutas actually, they keep chasing. Serral might be smelling some blood here. Good micro coming out of Stats. He's going to end up losing 2 Archons, so yeah.
Wow, that was actually nice, because by killing the Prism, the Archons have to drop down. There was a couple that were already low HP, right? So force them out of the Prism just means they're going to instantly die.
He's going to keep going.
Yeah, he's not stopping at all. He totally believes he can do something right now. Maybe he can. He just got rid of the Archons. There isn't Storm just yet. There's going to be a wall off on this right side, though, which limits his options. And I don't like him just going up the left into Stasis Wards and that choke point. So
he wanted to kill a 4th base, I think. And then once he saw there was no 4th, he added 9 more drones. He's going to go back into 8 gases right now, and he's going to retake the 5th base. What I was going to say was the reason why a lot of the time when TOS is doing this type of push, they start floating a lot of money, is because all TOSes have terrible... it's because a lot of the time the Prism isn't going to be able to actually relax in one location. There's Ravagers, there's Mutalisks out, so you need to constantly keep it moving, and you don't really warp in at home either, because the walking time is so long. And in case you do get a good position for the Prism later on, then you rather have that than having your Zealots walk all the way from your 3rd base. So I wouldn't have minded if Stats just put his Prism a fair amount behind his army, just like closer to the Watchtower or something like that, or near the 2nd Rich Vespene Geyser base on this map. That perhaps would have been better here. I think he would have been able to do more, maybe take another cancel on the base that was being built on the bottom, but Ooh, we're actually seeing a lot of mutas being produced right now, Wardy. 11 more.
He's really going to make a bid for a lot of muta control in this game. So Stats doesn't have a lot of muta defense set up right now because 10 mutas isn't super crazy. If 20 start flying into this natural, that cannon doesn't last very long. And then, of course, you're going to lose some probe lines. So Serral really feeling like he can keep Stats pinned back. He's already setting up the Ling run by for the 4th at the same time. And Stats is just completely in the dark about these mutas showing up. And yeah, they're going to get rid of this cannon, and then this entire mineral line is just going to fall. And Stats just says he's going to move across the map.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. I think there's enough banelings. Actually, there's only 16 banelings right now. There's a lot of larvae on the bank, though, and good initial fight here for Serral, who cleans up a lot of the stalkers. Does a lot of damage on a bunch of units. He does need some more Banes, though, because just with these Ravagers, he's not going to be able to cut it. Mutalisk can return at any time as well, and I mean, they do have +1 attack. There's 26 of them, which is nice. +2 on the Lings, though. If these bad boys can turn into Banelings and just get another bunch of these Stalkers, that would be fantastic.
There are a few Storms that are just trailing behind the army at the moment, so if you can get those Storms to protect against the Banes, he drops 2, but he has plenty, so I don't think that's an immediate issue. Stats goes up this ramp. The Mutas still rampaging across the map now, made their way into the 3rd base, but this fight's going to start breaking out. The corrosive vials come down. The Stalk's taking a good chunk of damage initially.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Serral can properly defend this, but what he's doing right now is just wearing this army down bit by bit, while kind of semi-base trading with the Mutalisk. Here come the Banelings, a lot of the Archons, a lot of the Stalkers are gonna go down as well. There's no more Archons remaining in this army. One more is being morphed right now. How are the Mutas doing? Damn, he still has up 26.
Yeah, and he's just going to fly across, and there's just going to be too many Mutas for this Stalker Archon army, right? There's 26 of them. There's 1 Archon, 10 Stalkers here, and a Storm. Maybe that's scary initially, but if he just chips away a little bit more, and he's killed off 3 bases of Stats, right? This isn't like anything's going to start mining again.
I don't know, Wardy. There's still 50 drones. If these armies get to join up, that actually could be dangerous. There's still a bunch of Phoenixes as well. I think this move in with the Mutas is a little bit too late. He shouldn't have cleaned up the Zealots on the left side. He first should have gone to this army. Now it's actually pretty scary. A lot of his supply is in those drones. He's building a swarm host. That had to be a mistake.
7 more Mutas on the way up, though, by the way. That's a lot.
Yes, but there's still enough money in the bank for Stats as well. He has cannons, he has batteries. He's gonna get a fleet beacon. And I don't see any mining here for Serral, more so than for Stats.
Yeah, no, I mean, Serral's obviously the one that's still under pressure, right? Because this base is starting to drop, and yeah, he doesn't really have anything else he can do. So he's going to move across, and he's going to try and take down this this topside base, which is kind of important with the 2 Stargates. So you don't want any more Phoenix to get on the map against these Mutas.
Recall is available, though. I think, yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfect. He definitely should have used it. Zealot's Immortal staying behind will be able to clean the main base out completely.
Oh, the Mutas.
I think Stats is doing it. Oh!
And those Mutas are just staying alive. As he's able to pull them back now, he will go for the cleanup on the Zelda Mortal, I guess, slow down the base trade. But then, of course, Stats still has a mining base. Serral's moving drones to the bottom right and the right, but he can't build anything if he loses his tech structures, right? There's nothing he can do here, so...
Oh, he was gonna get Neural Parasite and 2 Infestors. I actually just like the Infestors in general. Imagine if he can catch the Phoenixes. That would be so huge already to start with. I mean, he's gonna clean up everything on the ground here. 2 Oracles will find these drones. Stats, pay attention. Okay, he's just gonna go to the mining base. Okay, he's gonna get every single drone there. There's no burrow, right?
No.
No burrow.
So now all these drones are gonna start dropping. The Mutas on the way over those. The Oracle's obviously on a timer, but he's already killed off a lot of what would have become Serral's mining in the next few moments. These Oracles do turn back around, and the Mutas continuing to chase. They're going to get pushed all the way up, and of course, he will see the other base, though, so it's good information for Stats all across the board, but I mean, Stats has just sat here on a base. He's building Phoenix, so over time, he's about to have an Impulse Crystals, so he's about to have a really good answer to these Mutalisks.
Yeah, any Impulse Crystals is such a game changer in this situation. Now, I think neither the air nor the ground army can be beaten by pure Mutalisk, and together they definitely can't be. On top of that, they're playing on West, so the Phoenix Micro is going to be easier than the Muta Micro will be for Serral. A lot of Mutas are going down, and I mean, with the Infestors not in position, I think this just might be it, Wardy, honestly.
Yeah, it feels pretty It feels kind of like a hopeless fight, right? Like these Vitas have to do so much, but they just can't dance in and out against ranged Phoenix.
Yeah, he's gonna try to turn around a couple more times. He's gonna get another one. GG gets called. Wow. Stats winning, man. What a game. I really think the mistake there was that one fight where he went for the Zealots on the left side. You said he's gonna go for the cleanup on the Zealots on the left side. And if he would have went for the army on the right side there, he would have gotten all those Stalkers and the Archons. It was a fight at 13 minutes. That was absolutely key, because then once those Stalkers and the other two Archons joined up with the Phoenix as well, that's when it looked really bad all of a sudden for Serral. Man, that was a sick game.
We had a bit of a fiasco with ads and stuff, but we're gonna return and talk about game number 3, which got going. These guys like set up a lobby and invited everyone in like world record pace, so it was it was really quite something. As Stats and Serral game 3, Stats did get a hatch block off, but that's all you've missed here in the first minute of the game, as it's hatch, gas, and pool, and the next is dropping down from Stats.
The next is dropping down for Stats indeed. And now it gets interesting. What are we going to see from Stats? So far we've seen 2 different builds. One Glaive Adept and one Oracle. The Oracle worked out a little better. I really like the opening for Stats last game, honestly. He's so good with the Oracle movement as well. It's so sick to see, and a bit painful as well as a Protoss player, right? It's very difficult to get damage done against these guys. Like really, really difficult. And Stats makes it look so easy. Just the way he flies, and sure, he lost an Oracle, but he got like 9 drone kills last game, and then did some really cool pressure with 2 sides of his army on different ends of the map. And I don't know, I thought that start was absolutely beautiful. Perhaps he overstayed his welcome a bit, but I really think it was a sick start.
Well, looks like Stats is going to play a Stargate again. He cancels Warp Gate. I was going to say, or going to ask you if you thought there might be like something of a mind game with the hatch block into Stargate, because he does love Oracles on this map because of that dead airspace. So I was kind of surprised when he went for the hatch block right away. So I guess just a mind game more than anything.
Yeah, and it's just annoying as well for the Zerg, right? Having to micro against the Adept, and your drone patterns are a bit different. So perhaps that's the reason why. So I like to do it because a lot of the time the Zergs are really, really good when the game is extremely standard, right? When their natural is where their natural is, and their queen movement is going to be on point. But if there's more drones at the third base location all of a sudden, then they perhaps think differently, and they don't have as much experience yet in that situation. So it's nice when you're playing such a standard opener like Oracle to just switch it up sometimes. And he's not going to trick Serral, right? Serral saw the complete lack of a warp gate, so unless Stats is going to do the latest possible timing with Glaives, he's most likely going to be playing either Oracle or DT drop, but DT drop is extremely dead, so yeah, we're probably not going to see that.
Adept's going to commit to the Shade, and so they're going to go for some drones. Fire took a moment or 2, but this time he does get drone pull and 3 workers, so much more kind of what he's looking for. Gets a ling or 2 along the way as well.
Yeah, this was fine. I like that. It's cool because there's 2 ways really you can go into a fast third base, and the way that Stats does it is, I think he almost always wants to sacrifice his 2 adepts because he wants to take 4 gas before he takes his third base. Usually taking 4 gas before the third base is a bit of a waste because you're just going to be floating some money. But if you sack your first 2 adepts, that's actually completely fine. He's getting a 3rd gateway? What is this?
I don't know. Gonna get
and a
robo.
What would you think this might be, Wardy? I'm a little bit confused.
I don't know. I actually don't have anything for you. You give up, maybe just warp in 3 more. I have nothing.
Actually, he opened 4 adept before warp gate, didn't he? Yeah, he did. This might actually be how Showtime used to play. Showtime used to open exactly like this, 4 adept before warp gate. I think Showtime took a faster third, and then he'd go into a 3-gate robo pressure, just moving on the map, denying some creep, and he'd add a fast forge as well. Oh no, this is how Stats played last year in 2019. Yeah, that's last year. Like, you remember when he won Aces Rock against Serral?
Yeah.
This was the build that everyone was playing. They would go 3 or 4 Stargate units, and then they would go 6-gate into immortal, 1 immortal or 2 immortal with a prism, sometimes even 3 immortal. The first one who actually did this was Classic. I can't remember the name of the map. Port Alexander was the first time I saw anyone do it. Classic, where he played triple Oracle into 3 immortal, something like 8 or 9 gate. And then this build kind of got condensed into whatever it is that we play now. So it's 1 immortal into Prism. You're going to get a big sentry count. And I guess he's going to hit the 3rd base or maybe come from that 4th base location. If he can break that ramp, up that ramp at the 4th base, that might be an okay location to push in as well. I haven't seen this build in so long, though. And I don't think Serral has seen it either in quite some time.
So what does Serral need to do to hold this off then? Is this just a matter of making the right amount of units at the right time?
Roaches. Roaches from 66 is completely fine. Get Ravagers in position. The +1 melee, I'm not quite sure how that's going to affect things. But, I mean, he's on 6 gas already. So he should have plenty of gas for Ravagers here. I love that he's getting a Spine as well. Should be moving Queens in position. I wouldn't even mind if he throws 1 Spore towards the front, the Spore that's in the natural right now. I think that would be a good move.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just help zone out the Prism a little bit?
Yeah, and also the Oracles, right? Because there's still 2 Oracles here with the army, so that could be quite dangerous. You lose 1, 2 Queens, all of a sudden you don't have any anti-air. Good force fields here, 1 Queen goes down immediately. There's a lot of Ravagers though here for Serral, as Stats has no transition whatsoever behind this. There's no Forge, there's no Twilight. He's gonna need to at least kill a base, and preferably a bunch of drones with this as well. He still has a lot of force fields available here, Wardy.
Drops a couple of them to help zone out. Obviously the Ravagers are going to take those down to help speed up the re-engagement for Serral, as Rosafar still dropping. Stats does eat a couple of them this time around. The Oracles are going to jump in now. The Queen count is lower, so the lack of a Spore definitely is coming into effect here. The Queen goes down, the Oracle's still alive. They're going to pick off Ravagers, Harston, and that Immortal in the back is getting ever closer to that Spine Crawler for Stalkers. He loses 1 Oracle to the Biles, unfortunately, but otherwise Stats has still got this push going, and it's so scary when it's just the Ravagers, because if you get on top of them for a moment, they are going to die. Fortunately, Serral's doing a good job of maintaining what he has until he has extra units out in front of the tank.
Yeah, he needs to be very, very careful. This can snowball very quickly, either way, really. So no Biles can hit. Couple of links do run into the Biles. That's not ideal. The Stalker dies as well. Good micro by Serral. There's no more transfuses though. Queen count is low, but so is the sentry count. I see what? 3 force field, I count. 1 is being used immediately. Lots of Biles. This is gonna hit, yes. A bunch of Stalkers go down. I think this might have been enough to temporarily break Stats. Another warp in of Zealots. Feels like the last Hail Mary play. 26 more links are on the way here.
Yeah, it's super close. The extra Biles are still coming down, and you can see Serral's getting more and more confident, pushing further forward with this now. Getting in position where you can start putting Biles towards the Prism, more forcing it to reposition. And Stats' army is just breaking away. There's just not that much of it left. As he tries to get out, he loses some extra units in the process. Serral has crazy creep up this left-hand side to help him chase for so long. He's actually going to get in range of everything again. Wow, Stats is going to get cleaned up by whatever can be saved in that War Prism.
Yeah, this is such a sick defense with +1 as well. 4th base is done now. He adds 7 more drones, but I think Serral knows that he doesn't really need them. He's just going to walk across the map, start his +2, add the Queens that he lost. He's back at 5 already. He's going to go up to 6. And it is possible that Stats defends this initial push, but he's investing heavily into it, right? He's building more sentries. Forge is only now going down. Robo Base going down. Twilight is going down. But by the time the first upgrade for Stats will be done, +2 will be done for Serral, and Banelings with +2 is a fight. It is a unit that you don't really want to face unless you have Storm or an Archon count that is in the double digits.
Lings of Serral up on the counterattack as well, right? As Stats is just all that tech he's finally trying to invest in. He's just going to be so late. Serral drops the Spire. You like it? Just way to close out the game with the Mutalisks.
Yeah, I don't mind it, honestly. I think it's cool. I mean, you see there's no real anti-air here. Blink is being started. He can easily go into 8 gas. He has so much freedom right now. He could go into 10 gas and just play Mesmira Corruptor if he wants to. Maybe that would be pushing it. I wouldn't mind if it just sticks with Ling Ravager Bane, gets like 10, 12 Mutas. He's gonna drop.
Drop what?
Ooh,
just a group of
I don't know.
There's 4 Banelings Morphins, so I assume it's going to be those guys that get lifted up and transport across the map. No, they don't want to get lifted. They run away from the Overlord. Stop. They will get on their flight to the Proto Space.
I was wondering what was in the prism, and it's 4 zealots. And I was like, ah, makes sense. Then I checked the upgrades, and there's no charge yet. So these zealots are going to be the saddest 4 zealots you've seen in your life. Baneling speed is about to finish, +2 is about to finish up. And 13 more banelings on the way. 38 are already done. Infestation pit on the way as well. Spire seems to be just for maybe dealing with a prism if he needs to. But I don't think he will need to. I love this baneling drop being synchronized with this push at the front.
Yeah, it's going to start moving in a few moments. Serral not going to go just yet. There he is, taking that turn as he goes back up the ramp over here. The Banes are going to unload, of course, +2 melee. So it one-shots those probes. 21 workers killed. And at this point, Serral doesn't even necessarily need to push up the ramp right away. He's got such a worker lead as well, but there's also just barely any force fields left. So this time the Banelings might just be able to roll up and connect in anyway. Boss are going to kite back for their lives, but it's kind of a difficult job as that's a very hopeful super battery.
That's a very hopeful one. 6 sentries being warped in again. Here comes the Baneling flank. Or well, it's actually not going to be a flank. He might just be able to blow up this Nexus actually.
Yeah.
He's at least going to get every single probe once again. I guess the Nexus is a little bit too much. Stats was afraid of it as well, though. He started healing it with a battery. I was like, I ain't letting that happen, my friend.
Well, I mean, still 14 probes, right? You get rid of the batteries for the future as well, in case you get a lingering by there or something crazy. Serral's already setting up more units on that right side. He goes to the Hive Tech as well, so gets that Hive up, and I mean, what do you just add on? Some Vipers to deal with the Colossi? Nope, he's going to get a Great Aspire. Which feels a little bit unnecessary, because I feel like you could just kind of roll in, but it's probably the safe way to play it.
I mean, he's on 10 gas, 83 workers, up in upgrades against a guy without Storm, whose entire splash consists of 4 Colossi, who do have range, which is nice, but there's really no anti-air here whatsoever. I mean, there's 6 sentries, 4 Stalkers, so the moment a couple of Corruptors fly in, or let alone a single Broodlord, that should be pretty much it. I mean, Stats is in the game, but he's not in the game in the way that he would want to be.
No, he's holding on by a thread, and everything's strung together, but it's very ready to come unraveled and to fall apart. He will send a prism toward the main base, where Corrupt is going to intercept it very early on, so Serral already aware of the way that Stats is trying to get back into this game. It does bring Serral's army back, which allows Stats to clean up some creep at least, so he will make something of a move to retake some map control.
I like it. I like the effort that Stats is still putting in this game. I'm especially a big fan. I was wondering if it was a misrally, the 2 Colossi, and then I realized it's for Baneling run-bys. Yes, usually you do this with Archons, but he's just doing it with 2 Colossi in case a Baneling run-by decides to hit him. Sadly, the Colossi won't be able to shoot up, so there's another Baneling drop heading towards that 3rd base, and how many Banes is there until there are 52 Banelings? There is Corruptors, they're not with the army yet. I think they're just gonna morph into Brutes after this fight starts, as there's plenty of resources. So he's gonna lose a bunch of supply and then just build 9 Broodlords. So if he doesn't win with the fight initially, he's definitely gonna be winning with the Broodlords after. That's pretty much his thought. Now, I have to say, Stats has been extremely resilient so far. He's even gonna be moving out a little bit, and I'm a big fan of how he's been playing.
Yeah, considering he was so far behind, it felt like all was lost for him. He's really approaching this in a very slow, strategic manner, just trying to figure out the best possible chance for him to win this game. Is he could add maybe a few more link kills there, but otherwise doing okay. 9 probes just went down. It was over on the 3rd base. I guess Banes just ran up the ramp and around. Yep,
that was indeed the case. We have a little bit of a Ling run by into the 4th base, but even with Adrenal Glands, oh, actually I say that, I thought the super battery would be enough, but Serral with the big brain just right-clicks the super battery, and 9 more workers go down, so 61 workers remaining here for Stats. Broodlords are out right now as well. Is Serral actually just gonna put this into a late game? I think that might be a mistake. I think he... it's cool to play with your food a little bit, but after a while you do need to finish it, otherwise it gets cold. And if you wait long enough, it might start walking away because of all the fungus that it, grows on it. So you gotta be a little bit careful that the food doesn't start fighting back here, Serral.
Yeah, it definitely feels like he's had time to take a couple more fights before now, and like you say, like fight and then morph Broods after, and instead he just decided to morph Broods, which I still don't think is wrong, because it's not like there's a a lot up to really fight Brutes, but of course, a few good storms, you get some good blinks when you've cleaned out their ground army, and it's not impossible. I like where Serral's putting the Brutes, difficult to blink on top of them when they're above dead ground, so doing okay there. The Stalkers will do their best, but the transfusions are good for the moment, and Serral's just hanging back, waiting for the storms to be used so he can roll those Banelings in and have an even better time in the overall fight. Stats pulls back for a few more Stalker weapons, and this fight is still just poised, ready to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we see a bit of a flank coming in here as well. Stats still at 180 supply, but that should start going down very quickly. Banelings running in towards the fort base. More workers do end up falling. What's the anti-air looking like right now? We have 5 Stalkers, 5 more being warped in, and there's 11 Brood Lords. There's still a couple of Archons alive as well, and honestly, Stats is doing an amazing job with what he has, but it's just so difficult to fight Serral's army. It's like Stats has been giving a toothpick to fight off a knight with a sword, and he's doing a fantastic job, but in the end it's just a toothpick, you know, like it's gonna break, my friend, it's gonna break. It's not long enough. He tried maneuvering around many times, but he did not manage to get the toothpick in the neck of Serral, and he loses the game. Serral takes game number 3, and is now on match point.
He is
on our hands here. As in the bottom left, we see the man that's up 2-1. It's gonna be Serral playing as the red Zerg.
And the top right hand side, the blue Protoss is Stats.
Ooh, 12 full. He started the drone, then cancelled it. Huh. I mean, Stats has just been quick scouting every single game.
Yeah, so this is interesting because Serral actually used 12 pool against Parting a bunch in the groups, and I was like, okay, well, Parting sometimes counter rushes and stuff, so it kind of makes sense. But then I feel like trying to use a 12 pool against someone like Stats is, you know, especially when he has sent this probe across the map every time. That seems very like can you get enough done with this?
And he didn't even fake a hatchery, so Stats is just he's gonna go up very quick. Oh no, never mind. He's too afraid that something might be hidden. You saw that?
Yeah.
That's cute. He goes up really fast though. Like this is really quick to go up with your probe before the 1 minute mark. It's gonna see that it's 12 pool, and this timing also sucks because now Serral should cancel the queen and get the hatchery down. Yeah, there we go. So you build the queen in case you don't get the hatchery down, and then if you see that you can get the hatchery down, you obviously cancel the queen and then you get the hatchery fast, so you don't get split bases, as that really sucks with 12 pool, because a lot of the time the toss will hold at least a wall, and then they have 2 adepts afterwards. So if your bases are split, you don't have speed and very low queen count. That really sucks. So it's extremely important that you don't lose your or that you get the natural down on your natural when you're playing 12 pool. Otherwise you might as well, I don't want to say you might as well leave the game, but it becomes difficult. Oh, this is
a creative defense.
Yeah, this is one I haven't seen in a while.
Serral will just start to pick the Cyber Core as the Zealot moves that over. Typically 2 gates and a Zealot and you just fully wall, and life isn't that difficult, but now he's pulled some probes to try and help fight this, and well, Serral's obviously going to force the Zealot to come out because otherwise the Cyber Core goes down. Now there's 2 Zealots. Just doesn't feel like a fight that Serral does too much else with. But of course, he's forced 4 probes off the line this entire time, so that helps him with the recovery on the, you know, worker deficit that he holds from 12 pooling.
Yeah, that's big money as well. Let's not forget about that. Adept is about to enter the field, and that should tell Serral it's time to piss off. And he does. Starts moving back home. No gas yet. I know he liked to play this into 2-base Roach for a bit. So I'm curious to see if he's gonna do that again. I haven't. That was on Submarine, right? He played 2-base Roach.
Yeah.
After he opened this, we're gonna see a Twilight Council, so it actually would be pretty okay to play 2-base Roach against this opener. And usually the 12 pool stuff is pretty difficult to say. Well, this was great or this was brilliant. Usually there's different types of advantages, right? So we're gonna see here where it's gonna be hard for Serral to take a 3rd base. Most likely he's going to be going into double gas on his natural. He's going to struggle getting a 3rd base, but his current eco isn't that bad, and he has been mining from 2 bases for quite some time, so it's not like it's all bad for Serral. Sure, he didn't quite do the damage, but he still has certain edges in this game. As the 2 adepts keep going, I think he's going to skip speed perhaps even, and then just go straight into a roach.
Yeah. How is that going to work out against these glaive adepts?
Should work out okay.
Yeah. As long as he gets the roaches up in time, right, is the real question mark for it all.
Huh. 3-gate glaive into robo. I don't know this build. Like, this is what we used to play back in 2016.
Yeah. Way back when, the old adept style.
Yeah. I don't mind it, actually. I think it's pretty cool. It's not as aggressive. You're still going to force the same amount of roaches. And honestly, against 2-base roach, you're probably not going to be able to do very much. So he's just going to get a faster 3rd base with this. And he doesn't need the prism as quick either. So he's going to get good eco, pretty fast 3rd base. I kind of like this. You know what? I like this. I wasn't sure about it, but now that I think about it, this is definitely a pre-thought of response. You don't come up with this kind of stuff on the spot. I'm like 90% sure of that. I really do like this this little move here. He's gonna get the link speed, by the way, Serral, that is. Oh! He could have gotten those links.
Yeah, those links just darting around and getting out of there. There's a lot of links being made. The link speed's not done just yet. Roach roaring done, but no roaches in production. Serral is waiting on Overlords to be able to build enough roaches, really, but Stats is going to shade back. Wants to go and catch those lings, but that's obviously going to delay an attack because he has glaives already. He's missing on an opportunity, I think, right now.
Yeah, if he would have gone in there, I mean, there was no speed. There was only links, no roaches. I'm pretty sure he might have just won the game. Now, all of a sudden, we see 3rd base down, lair on the way. Still no roaches, though, so... I don't really know, Wardy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of links, 48, and there's only 13 adepts. 36 workers, meanwhile, here for Serral. What's the follow-up going to be here for Stats?
Yeah,
I'm so curious.
I feel like he hasn't dropped a 3rd base where he was kind of meant to already, right? Especially when link speed was so late and so on, and these adepts could have just kept the lings at home. He starts up an Immortal now. Is he just going to end up going for like a big Adept Immortal setup, or is he going to take a 3rd base and he just needs those Immortals for the roaches on the way up? I guess that's something to consider as well. The Adepts are setting up, so it's time to see what they can get done. 16 of them do shade through into the natural, with the lings already poised in the main. Stats will not commit just yet.
Yeah, I'm extremely confused because he's had 700 minerals in the bank for quite a while now. He's gonna move in, is going to be able to take out a couple of roaches, shades into the main where he gets met by a lot of links on the ramp, and I think this is the end of the adepts.
Yeah, they all just die. Not even the prisoner in time to save any of them. I mean, Stats just lost everything, has money floating, doesn't have a 3rd base still. He adds just a ton of extra gateways, so he is just going to go full-on aggression, but I mean, after losing... I would have liked this if this was, like, done cleaner and he keeps all these adepts alive, but now it kind of feels like, you know, now you're fighting with what half of what the army was meant to be.
Yeah, I have no clue. I just don't understand. What his plan was going to be. It felt like he wasn't quite sure himself either. Just afraid of some things, perhaps, and loses another adept, a little bit sloppy there. As... yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty bad now for Stats, honestly, because Serral can drone up very, very easily to, let's say, 60 or so. I think Serral is pushing it a little bit, though, with the Spire and the +1 and the 60 drones. Yeah, I don't think he needs the Spire here, honestly. I think that really is going a bit too far.
When it's only 2 bases of Stats as well, right? That's what really surprises me. Like, the meters even really add that much to 2 bases. I guess, like, the counter, if there's a push from Stats and it forces them all in, but then you've just got less to defend. So, to me, that logic doesn't really line up, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird. I agree with you here, Wardy. I'm not a fan of that play. But usually the things I'm not a fan of end up working out just fine. So curious to see how he will make it work, as he has 6 gas already. He's taking a 4th as well. It is so obvious to me that this is a fake 3rd base, right? It starts at 8 minutes. I'm confused as to why it's not that obvious to Serral, because he's had very good information for a long time. He could even build an Overseer at any given point, but he just added 2 more drones. He's on 66 workers now. Like, this is a very good setup if he survives, don't get me wrong. Like, if he survives, he's gonna be in a buzzing spot, but it felt like there was absolutely no way that he could die, and now I'm a little bit afraid. I'm not very afraid, but even just a little bit. I really wasn't before. I really thought that Serral had this very easily.
Which ravages the left, Lings to the right, gonna move forward and gonna get a bit of a surround here already. Love the Lings, the corrosive files are gonna connect on some of the immortals as well, and man, there's just no way to like really get out, right? There's units coming in from the bottom side too, and it is just a shutdown to begin with. And Serral, he's got lava to rebuild from. He's gonna try to recall out stats, and he does get those immortals away safely, but I mean, now Serral just keeps on moving forward.
Why do I doubt, Wardy? Why do I doubt? As Serral moves across the map, 5 more drones on the way, 7 Muralisk, and here comes the Spire in action. He's 8 gas already as well. He took the gases while he was doing the links around, by the way. Not after, while he was doing it. What an absolute monster. Yeah, this guy has so much confidence in his own unit movement and his ability to hold things. He played a razor-sharp game here, I have to admit. Absolutely fantastic. Let's not forget that this came from a top 12 pool.
Yeah.
Just a quick reminder. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is such a beautiful game, honestly, by Serral. This really is fantastic.
It's funny because it almost makes like 12, like a failed 12 pool look as though it doesn't even really fail, right? Because in the end, it's like, when was Serral in trouble, I guess? I mean...
I think there were timings.
Yeah,
like the initial timing, that was dangerous.
That's
right?
what I was
there
about
was
to
no
say,
speed.
where he could have gone in, and he didn't. Yeah,
but he didn't, you know?
Yeah.
He didn't, and it's not like the stat system scrub. He's probably the best PvZ player in the world right now. And seeing this just, I don't know, it once again confirms how good Serral is in this matchup. And you just love to see it. 2 of the Euro boys being so good in ZvP. Both Rainer and Serral, and Serral, he still needs to win this game, of course, but that's definitely in the plans here for him, as he has a bunch of Banelings with Baneling speed, 30 to be exact. Muras continue harassing on the third base, while he's also pushing at the front. 178 supply against 124. 20 workers have gone down already. Big blink down. Will be able to take out these Mutalisks. Once again, Serral, man, infestation pit's gonna go up to a hive. And corruptors already. I think I'd be very surprised if he doesn't push. But yeah. I mean, last game I also was very surprised that he didn't push. 4 Mutalisks are going into the main base. We'll be able to get a couple more workers, but not more than a couple, as 2 workers do fall, and then he gets chased away by these stalkers. Baneling count of 27, +2 about to finish. I guess he wanted to wait for +2. Maybe work on his creep spread a little bit, as he's up to 10 gases against a Protoss player that is on 48 workers. And this is sadness, Marty. This is pure sadness.
It's a lot of gas income, as Serral is. Well, he's not even gonna have to push, right? Because Stats is kind of starting to push into him. He's gonna lead with a couple stalkers and an observer, try and clean up just a little bit of creep spread, and Serral is here. And this might just be the moment where we get a fight, because I don't know what Stats really has to wait around for, right? He's got no fourth base up or anything like he maybe did last game. Here we go. The force fields come down. The Banes go crashing through. The Corruptors already picked off 1, and now 2 Colossi. The Banes will just crash into everything to finish it off, and it's an explosive finish for Serral to take this 3-1 over Stats. A very fun series, and Serral really, again, just showing some fantastic play in the, well, throughout all of it, really.
An explosive finish? Nice.
It was, right?
Nice.
That was a lot
of
Banelings.
It was very explosive.
A lot of Banelings crashing into everything.
I love it when that happens. When you're out on the map trying to clear some creep and the guy just rolls in with 60